So let's get started, Luana. Let's move to the next slide. So before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we now meet. And I know we're all meeting on different parts of the land. I work at RMIT University, and RMIT University acknowledges, and so do I, acknowledges the people of the Wurrung and Burrung language groups of the Eastern Kulin Nations on whose unceded lands we conduct the business of the university. I also pay my respects to their elders past, present, and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people of Australia. I also want to say that I do support the Voice to Parliament to give Indigenous communities an opportunity to inform policy and legal decisions that impact their lives. Thank you very much, Luana. If we can go to the next slide. So we thought we'd run a briefing session because there are a few changes that are happening in 2023, just minor changes. And I thought it'd be a great opportunity to give you an update and a briefing. We also want to outline the key dates when things are due. We'll cover the nomination and assessment process and your role as an ICO. Just reminding people of the mentoring scheme, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So if we can go to the next slide. So this is the team, Luana and myself at the moment. We are looking to recruit a project coordinator 3 days a week. We are liking the pink colour, it looks like, Luana, with a lovely purple background. So that's the team. Only 2 of us at the moment, but as I said, we are looking to recruit a awards coordinator. Next slide, please, Luana. All right, so this is covering some of the key changes that you'll see in 2023. So last week you would have received the nomination packs for the 2023 Australian Awards for University Teaching program, and that included the program overview and nomination instructions. And these are all on the Universities Australia's website. So this year, one of the key changes is for nominees for the teaching awards, including the Early Career and Career Achievement Award. We require them to include a link to a 2 to 3 minute YouTube video. And that video, the intention of that video is to include, some spoken testimonials from students or colleagues, but also to identify what sets them apart, or what are they doing that's quite innovative or showcases their leadership. And so all nominees will have to do that. So when we get to the point of deciding of who are the recipients of these awards, we've got the videos there so we can display them. These videos will be displayed at the Universities Australia Higher Education Conference. That's what we're expecting, and they'll also be uploaded on the Universities Australia website. So it's important that those videos are of a publishable quality, and that we can use them for disseminating the educators' great work. So there's more details in the teaching award instructions in the supporting materials section, and Luana will let you know where you can find that on the Universities Australia's website. Like every year, we appreciate your feedback. We always send out a survey to the ICOs, and I want to thank you all that have responded to that survey. And Luana and I, my awards manager and myself, look through that feedback and sort of pull out what are some of the key changes that we need to make. And after reviewing the 2022 ICO survey feedback, one of the requests was to align the Neville Bonner Award registration to the rest of the awards scheme. So that's something that we have done now. So that's aligned. So hopefully you'll be pleased with that. We've also created the nomination forms as fillable PDFs. That was another request that came through. And the third request was to have some nomination templates for all award categories, which have been developed now. So there's the 3 of the sort of main sort of changes in response to your feedback. So I hope that you appreciate that, and the nominees appreciate that as well. Because we announced the 2023 awards quite late, and the reason why it was quite late was Universities Australia were really preoccupied with the university's accord agreement and compiling their position. So that's why the awards have started quite late. And because of that, rather than, because normally in the month of May, we would run all our professional development workshops. So what we're doing, because we've started quite late, is we're going to reuse the professional development videos that we developed last year. So the content of that is still valid, and that's available online on the University's Australia website. So we encourage your nominees to watch those videos. And then finally, we have developed some new nominee resources, and that's to support the nominees. The resources are again available on the University's Australia website, and they include tips for writing a successful nomination, examples of effective evidence, and writing tips for the Neville Bonner Award nominations. So there's some of the key changes. So hopefully you can take them on board. Over to the next slide, please, Luana. So as you know, there are 3 award categories: citations for outstanding contributions to student learning. We have the awards for teaching excellence, and we have the awards that enhance, the awards for programs that enhance learning. None of the categories have changed this year. That's not to say they may not change next year. So they're the 3 that we've got. Now, in each of the categories, the nominee needs to select which discipline they're from. If I'm looking at focusing on the citations and the teaching awards for now, because in those awards, the nominee has to select a discipline. Are they from health? Are they from education? Are they from, the creative arts? So they choose the discipline that best aligned to their area. And then they select, and we've even got a multidisciplinary one, and that again was a result of some ICO feedback in the past, where ICOs were saying, well, we've got some nominees that they're not really in any of those disciplines, but they sort of cover a range of them. So we've got that category now. So they select which discipline they're in, and then they select one of the nomination categories. So are they early career teaching? Are they applying for the Neville Bonner Award? And that's only for Indigenous educators as well, or are they a sessional staff member? That's for the citation. Similar sort of thing for the teaching awards. And then for the programs that enhance learning, they select one of the 4 categories that are there, and they are around, improving the student experience, or collaborating with educational partners, or transforming the curriculum, or embedding that industry partnered learning, or the WIL integrated learning. And then they have to select whether the scope of their program, does the program cover a specific discipline or department, or is it at the college or faculty level, or is it at the whole university level? So that's the award categories. To the next slide, please, Luana. And then these are the subcategories and criteria. So we've got a nominee. They say, look, I'm teaching in health. I'm an early career teacher. And now they have to address one of these subcategories. So they either look at approaches to student learning, or the development of the criteria, or effective assessment, or innovation and leadership. So they choose one of those subcategories. And then once they choose one of those subcategories, they have to address all 4 of the assessment criteria. So if they choose approaches to student learning, then they have to say, well, how has their approach positively impacted the student learning? Has their approach gained recognition? Has it gained recognition within the department, within the school, the college, the university, externally, by professional bodies, by community of practice, by various sort of networks? How do they demonstrate their creativity or innovation, and what sort of scholarly has their approach been informed by scholarly literature, or are they building on or developing new discoveries in this space? So that's addressing all 4 of those assessment criteria, and then they need to provide a suite of documentation, which is in the guidelines that you'll find on the website, on the Universities Australia website. Similarly for the teaching awards, so again, they decide which discipline that they're in. They might choose engineering, and they're going to apply for you know, perhaps a Neville Bonner Award. And then they have to address all 4 of these subcategories in their application. So again, approaches to student learning, development of curricula, how effective is their assessment, and signs of innovation and leadership, demonstrating that. So in citations, you choose one of the subcategories. For a teaching excellence, you have to address all 4. And then you need to address all 4 assessment criteria under those subcategories. And again, you've got your nomination form, claims against the assessment criteria, team statement, because there might be some teams, it might not necessarily be an individual. We're seeing quite a few teams that have got teaching awards. It may be an individual, so we've seen both, and provide all the other documentation. And similarly for the programs that enhance learning, again, select one of the categories: improving the student experience, or collaboration with educational partners, transforming the curriculum, or embedding WIL or industry partnered experiences. Again, address all of the 4 assessment criteria, and the documentation is in what you need to provide is, again, as I say, on the website. I should mention that for the citations, the claims against the assessment criteria, applicants have only got a 4-page limit. For the teaching awards, they've got an 8-page limit, and for the programs, they've got a 10-page limit. So we'll see how this process goes with that criteria and the criteria and the subcategories to address the criteria. And again, we'll take your feedback at the end of the process and see what we need to improve on. So the assessment criteria, there's 4 areas that we look at, or the assessors look at. As you know, we do ask for assessors to nominate. We get recommendations from the DVCs and who they would recommend to be assessors. And then we go through this, you know, magical sort of juggling act where we try to have teams of assessors not assessing applications from their own institutions. And we have small groups, and I'll go through the assessment process in a little bit. But the assessment criteria is about how has this work that this nominee has done positively impacted student learning or student engagement or the overall student experience for a period of no less than 3 years. So we do want to see some sustained high performance or changes, and that gives them enough time to gather the evidence and have the evidence there. So both quantitative and qualitative evidence is really appreciated. And you know, also if they're drawing on any of the literature, they can put that in there as well. Gained recognition from colleagues or the institution or the broader community. So what evidence do applicants have to show that? Is there innovation? How creative or innovative is, and demonstrate that. Is it, you know, a new technique that's applied for the first time in this particular discipline, or is it something completely fairly new? And then also to draw on the scholarly literature on teaching learning to inform, you know, the developments that are occurring. So that's sort of the assessment criteria. What else is there? Okay, nomination process. I think you're going to be taking us through these 2 slides, Luana.
That's right. This is where I step in. Is there a bit of an echo?
No,
it's
not
all good. Okay. So this is a high-level timeline of the nomination process for the program. So from June to July, the nominees are required to start preparing their nominations, but they don't need to be complete for August yet, because in August, that's when we just register nominees. So all of you ICOs will register the nominees through the Spark Plus Awards portal, and you will receive those instructions. Then in September, the ICOs upload their nominees' submissions, and assessment will take place from October to December, including individual and collaborative assessment. and the final reviews from the award committees and Universities Australia. And then in February 2024, Universities Australia will announce the award recipients on their website, and they will be hosting a award ceremony at their conference, but that's to be confirmed later in the year. This year, the Neville Bonner Award registration will align with the other awards when the award portal opens on the 14th of August. This will make it easier and more streamlined to have one set of timelines, and that was requested in the ICO survey last year. The Neville Bonner registration is included in the maximum number of submissions per institution, which is 6 submissions for citations, 3 submissions for teaching awards, and 2 submissions for program awards. So on Friday, the 11th of August, all institutional contact officers will receive the instructions on how to use the awards portal, and they will also receive a unique account ID for 2023. And in previous years, ICOs have had trouble logging in because they are using their old account IDs from previous years. And this is a common problem because your browser might actually remember that login account ID, and you actually need to refresh it or delete your history or start just copy and paste your new account ID physically so that it doesn't just revert back to the 2022 or 2021 account ID. So just be mindful of that. I will include it in the email as well to just remind everyone and be aware of that. The portal will also be the same as last year. I know many of you are familiar with the Spark Plus Awards portal, but there are some new ICOs as well this year. But it is very intuitive and easy to navigate. We will provide the instructions, and both me and Mike Howard from Spark Plus will be available for assistance over email, but I'll also be available over the phone to help you with any issues that may pop up. So the awards portal will be opening on Monday, the 14th of August at 8 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time to register all your nominees, and then it will be closing on Friday, the 25th of August at 11:59 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Please be aware that no new registrations can be added after the closing date. So you're better off registering as many potential nominees as possible, and then you can always delete later when you come to the submission phase. Because you won't be able to add any new nominees after the 25th of August. The registration period is also just to put forward potential nominees, so you don't need to have the nominations complete by then. There is time still until September to complete the applications. So this is just to make sure we have all the nominees on our radar, and we know who will be possibly submitting from your institution. Nominees are not expected to have a complete submission by this registration period, so please assure your nominees. Then from the 4th to the 15th of September, ICOs will be again able to access the portal and to upload your nominees' submissions. So the final due date for submissions is Friday the 15th of September at 11:59 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And ICOs will receive communications about this. It will be the same login process as the registration period, the same account ID that you receive. So it should be pretty straightforward at that stage. But again, I will be on hand, and so will Mike from Spark Plus to make sure it all goes very smoothly.
I was thinking whether we should answer some of these questions now, or are you okay if we answer them now?
Yeah, that's fine. We can answer them now.
Yeah, I thought we might go through some of them now. So the first one is, it seems that the only choices for citations and teaching are early career teaching, not early career research. I hope we don't have early career research. It should be early career teaching. And Neville Bonner.
It's the slide before this one.
Yeah, the slide before. Yeah, go back one.
It says you've got to select one.
That's right. Yeah, it's from one of
So is that problematic?
Well, I can't remember actually on the form if it does say select one, and whether there was another box that said other. So, or whether if you don't select any of them, we know that you just don't fit into those category. That's really if you are, wanting to go under a specific category. So you either select early career, Neville Bonner, or the sessional staff.
Right.
But if
you'd need to change this slide, wouldn't you?
Yes, yeah, we can modify the slide. I'm just wondering, Luana, because the selection, is that done in Spark Plus? Can you remember?
Selection is done on Spark Plus, but also in the nomination form. So if I'll just share my screen with the nomination form now. So in the this is a citation. Can everyone see my screen, the form?
Yeah. Oh, there it is. None of the above. That's what we missed. Yeah.
Yes. So
could have been chopped
Thank
off
you.
at the end of the slide.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we'll change those slides. Thanks for picking that up.
Yeah. Great. So that's that one. To the nomination templates having the requirements of assessment criteria subheadings and how it's envisaged the assessors will assess that the narrative is cohesive. I understand that. I don't know if whether we made the templates absolutely mandatory. Have we? I'm not sure, Luana, can you remember? Did we make them mandatory? Because sometimes people want to just write one story. This was feedback we did get, I think, from the assessors, was it? Or was it from the ICOs?
So it's not mandatory. It's just a guide for the structure of the nomination, but we did receive a lot of feedback from assessors about having the subheadings and being very clear about what evidence and examples go under which criteria. That will make it much easier for assessors to rate and review the nominations. I have received a few questions via email about this. So if there are elements that weave throughout all the different criteria, please certainly do that to make it flow as a more smoother narrative, especially if there's the overview section. You can address things as a brief summary in the overview section at the beginning. But generally, if you can keep most of the examples that apply to each subcategory and criteria under those subheadings, it will make it much easier for assessors. But it is case-by-case basis. You may even want to swap around the subheadings if that flows easier as well. But as long as there's some indication that we are addressing this criteria with this example.
Great. Hopefully that addresses that concern. Is the new video requirement listed as one of the supporting materials in the application?
Yes, so the new video requirement for the teaching awards only, it's a mandatory requirement. It used to be an optional requirement. So that is in the supporting materials section at the towards the end of the instructions, and it's also highlighted in red. But you'll also notice at the beginning of the instructions, there's the key changes page, and it's listed there as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Luana. And I can see that is it Shannon, Marianne also mentioned that there was the option of none of the above where we had the three. So I think it has been suggested that a good model for these applications might be the Advanced HEE Fellowship application model with the relevant assessment criteria identified in brackets after the relevant assessment or paragraph. So we can actually put that up as a resource, perhaps, Luana, on the Universities Australia website. We'll need to check that. We may have to put it on the AAUT website just to see if the Universities Australia are happy to support to have the Advanced HE Fellowship application model up there. So thank you for those questions. I think we can continue on with our presentation.
Sure.
If we can move to slide 11, Luana. So slide 11 and 12 really just outline the assessment matrix. They've got the 4 different assessment criteria, which I've already mentioned about positively impacting student learning, gaining recognition either from colleagues, networks, at the university level, broader community, internationally, showing creativity and imagination and drawing on the scholarly literature or producing, new literature and new knowledge in the area. So the assessors will rate each of those criteria as they don't recommend this application to go forward. The application needs further work, and we have a session with the assessors where we invite them to provide, some constructive feedback. Either they recommend the application to proceed to the next level, or they highly recommend it. And there's details in each of those categories, in each of those assessment criteria. If we go to the next slide just refers to the assessment criteria for the Neville Bonner Award, and you'll see that there's some underlying statements under a couple of the criteria. So, for example, criteria B, gaining recognition from colleagues, you'll see if it's recommended that it needs to be also including Indigenous communities and elders, in recommended and highly recommended, and similarly for the scholarly literature, where if it's going to be recommended or highly recommended, the nomination demonstrates an understanding of scholarly literature of teaching and learning, including relevant Indigenous scholarly literature as well. So have to be drawing on that as well. So they're the main differences which are underlined in the matrix. If we move to slide 13, Luana, that now takes us to the assessment process. And the assessment process is not going to change. It's going to run the same way. We've about to sign a contract with Spark Plus, so they will be the software tool that we'll use to upload the nominations. Once we have all the nominations, we also work in parallels to start to build the assessment teams. And there's 3 passes to the assessment. The first one is that the assessors, once they're assigned their pack of nominations, they do an individual assessment based on the criteria, and they'll have those matrices with them, and they do an individual assessment. That all gets done online in Spark Plus. They then come together in their teams, so they're pre-assigned teams, and we try and make sure we do have teams of assessors where they are not assessing any applications from their own institutions. So at the collaborative part of the assessment, which is stage 2, that's when all the assessors come together and have an opportunity to calibrate, argue for or against a particular nomination, whether it's meeting the criteria, how they've interpreted what the nominee has stated, and then they come with a collaborative assessment. So essentially they need to collectively say, yeah, we recommend as a group that these ones we highly recommend, or these ones we don't recommend, or these ones need further work. And once they've done their assessment piece, then it actually goes to the assessment committee. The assessment committees are chaired by DVCAs, and we've received confirmation from David Sadler, Liz Johnson. So David Sadler, the DVCA of University of Western Australia, Liz Johnson, the DVCA of Deakin, and Pip Patterson, who's I think now just retired, but currently doing some work at Swinburne, supporting the DVCA at Swinburne, or might be acting DVCA, because you would have seen Swinburne is advertising for a new DVCA at the moment. So I think she's doing that acting role. And we've got Sally Kift, who most of you will know, very prominent in the higher education sector, chairing the panel for the Career Achievement Award. So the chairs of those committees have been confirmed. We're starting to put those committees together. But once the collaborative assessment is completed, then that goes to the awards committees, and then they make a recommendation to the Universities Australia Board, and it's the Universities Australia Board that then says yes or no. Yeah. So that's sort of the assessment process. So it's sort of three tiered. It's quite thorough, and I think it's worked quite well in the past, and we'll continue to do that. It's done fully online, so we don't fly people in the past, many moons ago. All the assessors, for those of you that were ever involved in that process, we would all fly to a particular state and would work on the assessment in person together. So now this is all done online. And at the end of the process, we ask the chair of the collaborative assessment team to provide us with a bit of feedback around suggestions to improve the process, and we try to take them on board and embed that in the next iteration of the process. So they very much have a voice in helping to shape how this assessment is working. They also give us feedback on the software tool that we're using, and we make amendments and changes to that So we work very closely with Keith and his support crew with Spark Plus. So that's the assessment process. So over to you now, Luana, to talk a little bit about the ICO responsibilities.
Thanks, Ange. So as ICOs, many of you have been in this role before, but welcome to any new ICOs present today. You are your institution's representative and the central point of contact for the program. So any questions that your nominees may have, or any issues that may crop up, it's always best to go through you, as you are that central point of contact. And it kind of makes it a more streamlined process, so we know which institution is needing our support. Each of you will be provided with your own unique account ID to log into the awards portal, so that also makes it very streamlined instead of offering unique IDs to every single nominee. So that unique ID will be provided by the software called Spark Plus, and we've been using Spark Plus for the last several years and improved on that software every year as well. So you are responsible for collecting your nominees' details and submissions to register them on the awards portal with the account ID and your password, and uploading their submissions. You're also responsible for disseminating all AAUT related news, brochures, videos and promotional content within your institution. So the instructions that we sent through, the nomination packs, all available on the Universities Australia website. There's also brochures on the Universities Australia website if you wanted to promote that within your institution to attract more nominees. And we have a monthly newsletter as well that we send out with updates. So please ensure you are subscribed. You can subscribe on the Universities Australia website and also on the AAUT network website. But if you have trouble subscribing or not sure where it is, just please contact me and I can help you out with that. The awards team will also get in touch with you via email about any other important information for sharing, for example, the nomination packs which have been sent out, any new resources and key due dates and reminders. So whichever email you've subscribed with us, we will keep contacting you through that. Next slide. We have an opportunity now for all of you to share your experiences as ICOs, or raise any questions, share any positive feedback or any challenges you faced and how you overcame those challenges, so we can support each other and support any new ICOs this year. So if you want to share anything, please unmute yourself and have 5-10 minutes to share.
Maybe raise your hand if that's okay.
Yeah.
So is there anybody that's new, first time ICOs, never experienced the award process before? Oh yes, Claire.
Oh,
Claire.
awesome.
Do you want to put your camera on and just, is there anything concerning you, Claire?
Firstly, hi, and thanks for this presentation, which has been really good. There's nothing at the moment. I am feeling a bit like I've got a bunch of stuff to get my head around. But I do work closely with our former ICO, so I'll be probably getting a bit of guidance from her as well as from you guys.
Thanks. Claire, what university are you from?
Australian Catholic University.
Oh, okay, fantastic, great. Emily, I hope I've got the right order. I know they're coming up. Emily and then Mickey. Emily.
Hello.
Nika.
This is probably quite a unique question, so people might not be able to answer it. But I'm just wondering how the each institution manages their internal selection process, like who's involved in that, and how much notice they give and when they sort of start that process. I mean, like I said, that's probably a very complicated question, but I'm just sort of interested in general how people sort of manage that from within their own institution.
We sort of build what we call a citation pathway. So we shepherd colleagues through a school citation, a faculty level citation, and then a what we call a vice chancellor citation. So we get successive levels of development, and when we have our vice chancellor citations, then we make the recommendation, and generally they're the nomination for our institution, UNE, for the AAUTs.
Excellent. I can tell you what happens at RMIT. At RMIT, we have college awards. So we invite applicants, and each college has a team of learning specialists, and part of their role, not their whole role, is to help support academics put together an application for a college or university award. So they have a college award. Some of our schools are quite large, so some of the schools even have their own awards, teaching awards. Some of the awards at the college level awards mimic the AAUT style of awards. So they have citations, they have teaching excellence. We don't have program awards at the college level, but we have other awards as well. We have a Digital Innovator Award. We have Early Career Teaching Award. We have Most Improved Course Award. So we have a number of awards. I think there's 9 different awards, teaching awards in the STEM college at RMIT. Each college is different. And then once you've received a college award, then you are encouraged to apply for a university award. And those that are successful in receiving a university award are strongly encouraged and supported to apply for an AAUTN award. And that was a similar practice that occurred at Monash University and Swinburne, where I worked there. Anybody else like to share that before we go to the next question?
After the university awards, I run a workshop and that's invitation only to award winners. Then I get people to write a page expression of interest as well as their previous application saying what they've done since. Then after that, we look at, are they ready or do they need another year's work to do further evaluation and scholarship to be eligible at the national award level? Just because there's often quite a big gap between what wins the university award, which might be, say, a specialist thing that addresses a strategic priority, and what's competitive at AAUT.
Thank you, Jo, for sharing that. Jo's from the university.
UTS, yeah.
Yeah. UTS, just to say UTS. Thank you so much, Jo, for sharing that. So Emily, does that give you some ideas of what happens at the different institutions? I know there's a lot of talk in the media around University of Adelaide and UDSA sort of coming together. So you might want to look at the processes within your state. And I think we had David, was it David from Burbeck talking about the University of South Australia. They've got aligned institutional awards, which we encourage people to go through first before they move on to the AAUT awards. All right, there was another question in the chat, so we'll get on to that other question, and that was by Miki.
That's right, Mika. Rhymes with Eureka.
Oh, Mika.
Yeah. First, I'm with Southern Cross University. First of all, to come back to that, what you were saying about how other institutions, structure it, before I come to my response to I wanted to talk about a challenge. The Southern Cross University doesn't have a big award structure at all. In fact, it doesn't have any. So there's no faculty awards or vice chancellor awards at this stage. But I'm thinking that this aligned layering of awards within a university actually plays strategically very well into the AAUT awards in that aspect of recognition, because the applicants are, to what extent is your work recognised, and if they have had university awards or faculty awards, that plays in their favour. So the more awards the university can layer in a way or align in some sort of realistic sense, not bizarre, but realistic sense, that actually works in the university's favour in terms of getting more AAUT awards as well. So poor Southern Cross University has shot itself in the foot by not having awards at this stage, but I am working on changing that because, because we do. We want to recognise, we really want to recognise and support excellence in the scholarship of learning and teaching, and that is so important, and that it gains foothold and ground. So one challenge that I've had at Southern Cross, well, that's one challenge, I suppose. There's no award structure. Another challenge is that we have had people come through to apply for citations, and last year didn't get it. So my request of my colleagues here is, how do you field their disappointment at not achieving a citation? And is it a good idea to encourage them to apply again? And over to my colleagues for feedback and support on this one.
So David's got his hand back. David, is that in a direct response to?
Yeah, look, it is. Yeah, they're devastated, aren't they? One of the things I think is most important is to manage their expectations going into the process. So these are high-level awards, and one of the conversations we have is it's quite normal to go through a 2 or 3 year cycle. That's not a bad thing at all, and trying to get them to understand that the level is very, very high, and it's not a bad thing to get some feedback for a successful application next year, and to set that right from the very start.
Yeah, David, my motto is always failure is your pathway to success.
100%, yeah.
More times you fail, the more feedback you get that you can use to improve and sort of really focus your direction. And sometimes you might get that feedback once and you have an opportunity to try, and the more feedback you get from different points of view is always good, I think. So thanks for sharing that. I know it can be pretty devastating, but you know, as academics, I'm sure they've all submitted papers into journals that haven't been accepted or rejected for some reason. So we've got to build up that bit of resilience in our academics as well. And sorry, you had your hand up.
I did, but then I realised David was saying pretty much what I was going to say anyway, particularly around managing expectations to start with, and then using the feedback as a positive way forward for revising and possibly resubmitting. But yeah, there is definitely disappointment around it, but you know, you work with it.
That's right. And Jo mentioned that she listens first, then shares experiences of failing, then succeeding, and also interpret the feedback with them. So I think everyone that got a teaching award has failed somewhere along the process, whether it was failing to get promoted the first time they applied, or failing to get a teaching award at their own school or college level. You'll probably find most of them, it's probably not talked about as much, but I'm pretty sure most of them would have had some failures along the way. So I think we've only got a couple of minutes left, so I do want to cover the next. Thank you so much for contributing to that discussion, and hopefully we can get back together after the submission processes and maybe do a bit of a debrief. That might be something worth following up. What I do want to say is last year we developed some really insightful professional development sessions, and we invited a number of key people, past award winners, chairs of, assessment panels and committees. And so we've got quite a good suite of professional development series. And because of the tight timeline this year, I just don't think we're going to be able to run a new set. So what we're going to do is reuse the set that we had developed last year. They're available to watch online. So we highly recommend that your nominees or potential nominees watch these online PD sessions. They are on the university website, and we encourage you to share them with your nominees. So there's one around writing a successful citation nomination, writing a successful program award nomination, writing a teaching award nomination, the Neville Bonner Award nomination, early career nomination, and advice from the 2018 to 2021 Teachers of the Year. So they're pieces of advice. So I think they're a really good set of resources, and we've created them. So it'd be really nice to reuse them. And we may do that every 2 years, update and refresh those resources. So please pass those resources on. The next slide, please, Luana, and that is, for those of you that are new, there is another website called the Australian Awarded Universities Teachers Network. And we created this because over the past years, for those of you that have been in the higher education sector for, the last 20 or 30 years, we've seen these awards being disassembled, re-established, managed by different organisations. For the past 5 years, they've sort of been under 5 or 6 years, they've been under my directorship. And to avoid losing all the information, we decided to create this Australian Award Universities Teachers Network. The original purpose of the network and how it was set up was we received a OLT funding, about $50,000, probably now 10 years ago, to create the promoting excellence sort of networks. And there was a small amount of money that was devoted to setting up a network that connected all the back then it was called the Prime Minister's Award of University Teachers, but now it's called the Australian University Teacher of the Year. So connect all of those teacher of the top prize nominees, recipients. So we created it for that purpose. And along the way, we had discussions around how can we support nominees, and so the idea of developing a mentoring scheme cropped up. And so now we actually have 55 registered mentors from 22 institutions who just volunteer their time and are willing to provide their expertise to any nominee that's thinking of applying for award. And it draws on the past award recipients. So someone who in the past who got either a citation or teaching award were invited, and some of them said, yeah, I'm sure, I'm happy to give back and support the next generation of aspiring nominees. So the scheme is a self-service system. So the mentee goes in, chooses a mentor from the list. There's a list of mentors. They can search them by their, discipline area. And then they can choose a mentor, and then they can they email the mentor, and then the mentor will reply, and they connect in times that suits them, that works for them. So there's more information on that website. So please make sure you visit that website. So the AAUTN website provides lots of resources there, not compulsory resources, but they might find something there that's quite useful to them. Over to the next slide, Luana. We're almost at the end, and the usual practice at the end is when we're all together, we all put our cameras on and we'll have a photo, because I do want to advertise this through Twitter and LinkedIn as well. But just to let you know, the resources are all on the university's website. You can hold your phone up onto that code, and you can scan the code, which will take you straight to the QR code will take you straight to the website. Or of course you can send an email to the awards team, which is aaut@rmit.edu.au. And is that our last slide, Luana, or there's one more? Okay, so on the socials, I tried to post as much as I can about the awards, either through LinkedIn or Twitter are the two main ones. And encourage you all to sort of connect and promote and disseminate information that works there. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating in this briefing session. I hope you got something valuable out of it. We look forward to receiving nominations from your institution. We had about 35, I think 34 connected, so there was a few that couldn't connect, but good representation across Australia. Let's really try and support our upcoming top educators. They've been working so hard over COVID, the transition to online, changes to assessment, timetabling issues with, face-to-face and online and different forms of teaching, new blended learning models coming through, more push towards integrated learning with industry. So they're working really hard. They deserve to be recognised, and I hope each of you can find some talented educators that deserve to be recognised. So thank you very much, everybody. Please stay in touch. You've got the email address if you need to reach out to us. And this will be uploaded on the Universities Australia website next week, so we can send an email out to you when it's ready. And feel free to watch the recording and share the resources with your potential nominees. All the best for this year. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.